I think as a community, we've changed and shifted from that soul swooping to more of a team flying environment. I think a lot of that comes from a passion for canopy piloting, but this format has allowed people to push boundaries in their own flying, and they learn the full control range of a parachute. It's not just about going fast and going far anymore. And the community, I think, has seen that and really wants to be part of that. That's one of the things that brings us closer into skydiving, is being part of a community. So this discipline takes any walk of life and allows people to kind of get together and fly together as a team.
The thing that brings us together the most is just the love of flying. I think the biggest thing about flocking is that it's very much team flying. And it's not just about like going out there and doing the gnarliest thing possible. It's just about flying together and figuring out how to be compatible as a group.
Rather you be a touch slow than fast. Because if you're fast, you're going to cut off the person behind you. If you're slow,
the nature of the discipline itself, it's very team-oriented. And that team-oriented nature, along with the passion that we all share for it, is a very natural glue that brings us together.
What makes flocking worth putting time into is the crazy amounts of fun you get out of doing it. Every little step that you take and work on, you get a lot of instant feedback. I think it makes the jumps are long. They are really, you have multiple times to try something. I think it's like the most fun you can have in the sky.
It's not only immensely fun, it teaches you the understanding of flying your parachute intuitively. You're going to progress and become so much safer and better at being a pilot, not only in your own bubble, but being relative to others, which makes it safer in traffic. It makes it safer for you to assess what is happening and being more aware. So that is a massive contribution to how the sport can grow and be safer.
This discipline specifically has grown tremendously in the last couple of years. I think we've all seen just the amount of people that are really excited about this discipline, and I think that there are more and more people that are getting into it, and more camps are popping up, and I think it's really cool to see how many people have just become super passionate about this and the community that's grown because of it.
it's now no longer just a certain select few of people that are doing it. It's filtering down to smaller drop zones, to lower experience. The knowledge is out there, and I think that people are really pushing hard to be as safe and as knowledgeable.
The flocking community really became professional. There's a lot of standardization, a lot of exchange with other disciplines and people that are really good and experienced in other parts of the sport. And I think we've taken a lot of the knowledge that was already there and kind of implemented it.
I would say as a whole that where I see this going more than anything as a discipline is population growth. I'm seeing more and more people starting to realize how awesome this discipline really is and want to get into it. And as that starts to grow, I think our ability to do more as a team, to do more maybe even as a larger team, you know, as we start to gain individuals that have that genuine interest, I think at that point, the sky's the limit.
The next thing, humility, right? The best flyers know when to say no. Okay, like if there's a move, there's something that needs to happen, that if there's any doubt, there's no doubt. Does that kind of make sense in that phrase? All right, we don't want to be sitting there kind of really pushing limits, things like that. I'd rather us get down, be like, oh, that move wasn't the best. I chose clear airspace. The first time we did this, it was all about static flying. It was about getting all the Valkyries together, making a big formation of all these really incredible pilots from around the world. And this one's more based on movement and trust. And so this one's going to be a lot more team focused and a lot more team movement based. So a lot of flowy lines, a lot of moving and dynamic pieces, if you will.
I remember last time for Operation VK, the whole engineering of the approaches was basically tried and thought about a lot. We spent some nights over whiteboards and drawing plans and trying to make it as efficient as possible.
It was very much an unknown about what was going to happen, how it was going to work, the issues, maybe the problems we'd come into. I think it was an unknown, whereas now we have a very good understanding of what is actually possible.
This roster is very different from the previous years, and it's people that have really put the time and dedication into growing this side of the sport. And all of them are extremely passionate about what we're doing.
We saw a lot of big organizations And now we start to see individual pilots that have been pushing and interested and wanting to do these things more and more and more. And we're starting to see guys that have big names from way different backgrounds. People that were innovating the sport in the early 2000s that are here now at the second Operation BK, which is super cool. And we see a lot of similar faces to what we saw last time, but to see some of those new faces, I think are the most interesting and the most encouraging, because it shows where the sport's going.
I'm Luis Adolfo Lopez Mendez, and I'm from Venezuela. I started flocking 2 years ago. I was offered to join the Momentum Flock and Flow, and I thought that was a good opportunity for me to experience the flocking. On a note on that, I was ready to retire from skydiving. I've been skydiving for 26 years. I have over 23,000 jumps, and I was done. Like, I was burnt out. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And after that camp, I was like reborn. Even for me, that I have a lot of experience in the sport, the first camp that I did was like really eye-opener. It's like, what? Like, how can I did not do this earlier?
My name is Jesse Leos, nickname is Tex, and I come from Spaceland, Houston in Texas. This discipline has challenged me personally because I've had to step into the student role through my own progression, which has been actually a really beautiful experience. To step back and begin learning, seeking out who are the most competent teachers of the sport. And along the way, I've learned a lot about myself, how I learn, and how these principles carry over into other skydiving disciplines as well.
Think about someone at this event. How do you think they got here?
Yeah, so the person that I'm thinking of, I know that they've gotten here because they trust the process and focus on the basics and listen and just do their best on every jump, and they're very humble. They have a very good understanding of where they are in the sport, what they're capable of, and I think that they listen to guidance and help. That was definitely the thing for me, is I listen to the people who do this. You know, I listen to the people who do this all day, every day.
To get here takes a lot of humility. I think a lot of people want to come into it and perform and be the best that they can, but I think the biggest thing is walking in, being humble, ready to learn, ready to receive feedback, and a lot of removing ego. Again, if it's a team sport, you have to really think about flying as a team and taking that ego out of it being all about you. And that dedication, that passion, that consistency is what brings you here.
Learning new tricks, being an old dog, is already a challenge on itself. And like everything in skydiving, it just takes time to get those nuances really wired up.
With every flock, there's opportunity for things to go not as planned. When you add more participants, more pilots, it just creates an exponential chance for things to go wrong. A lot of things that can go wrong are simple pilot errors, jump run, adding multiple aircraft, malfunctions. Those things are generally what can happen, but when you add multiple aircraft and 36 pilots, the chances of those significantly increase.
In some of the formations, it's going to require more than one person. So if we were to do that dynamic block, for example, we need all 6 leaders to lead the turnout.
The way we mitigate issues is prior preparation and developing contingency plans for something to go wrong. Some of those examples will be utilizing multiple leaders just in case one of the leaders has a malfunction or something occurs. At the end of the day, we rely heavily on the experience of the leaders to exercise good decision making to kind of mitigate any sort of issues.
If we rush it and we start adding confusion beside the formation, that'll take so much valuable time away. So I can't stress enough, take your time, really think about who you're approaching with, and think about who you're approaching after as well. Right? So you're watching these groups build, all that kind of stuff. We're not adding confusion beside the formation.
A lot of the stuff that we've been focusing on since the last one is a lot of the fundamentals, right? Trail flying, consistency, teamwork, and that culture is what I think changed the mindset of a lot of pilots that are coming in.
Healthy respect for the basics is something that brings people here. Nobody's on this camp that doesn't understand how to fly the most simple thing very well. It's only then can we start adding extra things and extra layers and extra points and extra moves and all this stuff. Only when you have a good understanding of the basics, it's only then can you start adding those things on.
I think everything in the sport community, everyone can do better at really focusing on the fundamentals. And when you really think about it, taking any project, taking on any bigger jumps, whatever it may be, your progression, really stair-stepping it in kind of like that crawl, walk, run format where you really take a step back, really focus on the fundamentals, and incrementally build on every time you're making a jump.
Communication is huge in this sport. How we communicate on the ground about what we're doing, and how do we communicate in the air, which is like a huge one, I think. And our debriefs are super important as well. And I think starting small and going bigger is always going to be the right way to approach any discipline in skydiving, and that's how we can potentially make it safer, right? But just sharing the knowledge with everybody, and then also sharing our mistakes, I think is super important to make everybody safer and to own up to them and share that knowledge with everybody.
To get there, you have to slowly and incrementally do everything one step at a time. We're going to do a lot of things that we did at the first Operation VK, and then we're going to take that and we're going to build on it.
Taking your group, you guys will be landing and doing guided landings into the alternate.
The beginning of the week, we stepped it up throughout the week, building bigger and bigger formations all the way to 36 ways on Wednesday. And then the vibe kind of sunk a little bit because everybody was exhausted because you got these 7-minute skydives, a lot of taxing mentally and physically. But then I think going back to those basics and now putting back those formations and getting more flowy, more dynamic on this last day has really brought the vibes back up.
I think everybody's trying to be dialed in for 7 minutes at a time, in your slot, picture perfect. spot on. This morning's already starting off super strong. To see this many canopy pilots completely on point every single jump, like and that first jump went phenomenal. Today's gonna be fantastic.
So if I give myself some advice at the start of the week, it would be take it one jump at a time. I think after each jump, it's really easy for us to overanalyze, and we're very self-critical. Do the jump, take some learning points away from it, and then move on to the next.
The thing that I'm most excited to see is how quickly the team vibe builds on over the event. That was not something that I was expecting. I thought everybody was going to be like game face, super focused. I thought everybody was going to be like that on the last one, and very quickly it got to just all working towards the same goal with a bunch of friends, fun jumping almost, and I'm excited for that to happen again. I'm excited to see how people take that. We've got some new people on this one. I'm excited to see their journey and how it plays out for them, because yeah, for sure it's nerve-wracking, but it is fun. Like, it's really, really fun to get down and to see how happy everybody is, and the high fives and the smiles, and that tension and that stress just release is something that I really enjoyed last time, so I'm really looking forward to doing that again.
PD support at this event is something that I think the industry's never really seen. Right? This is an event that's really pushing a new discipline and seeing new grounds, and to have that kind of backing from a manufacturer in the sport, to want to see that progression, to see that discipline grow, is something that's really unique, and I don't think it's ever been seen before. Skydive City has also been a huge supporter of the event, pushing this discipline, understanding the safety aspects that are required of it, understanding where we got to put our pilots, just fully engulfing themselves in the discipline to be not only a venue that we can run this event at, but a venue that is really invested in the safety and the culture of the sport.
Best advice would be start now. Don't wait. People that say they need to wait, or they need to downsize, or they're waiting to do that. Find someone trustworthy at the drop zone, or if you can't, come out to an event. If you don't have the community at your drop zone and you're the one to go out and start learning it, you will make the community.
Nice job sticking with that.
The carousels. Here we go.
That was
together.
That was sick. Yeah, I saw you push it.
Whoa.